I mean, first things first. Whoa, 1,000 subscribers, huh? The big 1K. It's surreal, but here we are. So, yes, I got a big old goofy smile, but you're here to watch a tutorial, aren't you? So let's do the tutorial part, shall we? So, the first thing you want when even doing covers at all is obviously a computer and FL Studio. I don't know much about mobile, but I know much about PC. So FL Studio has this great thing where you can get a free trial, and it's completely free, unlimited as it says. The main thing is you can't save anything, so whoops. But hey, covers shouldn't be taking that long realistically unless you really want to get in depth, but I don't get too in depth as you may know. I'm here to show you the basics, and that's what I do. So once you have FL Studio, well, the next thing you're going to want is an FLP and chromatics. Chromatics, your go-to will usually be the Funkopedia, but if you can't find them there, you can usually look them up. Tend to have like a whole collection of them. And granted, I have one too. Not as good as others, but this will be available to download in the description and comments. Actually, my entire cover folder will be, so don't worry about that. But FLPs are granted a little more easier to obtain. This person right here, Fire, makes Mario Mix, great stuff. They usually include an FLP for you. So, you go there, and you get it. So I'm going to hit Funny Download, and we'll be back when I'm done downloading this. So, once you've gotten your FLP, believe it or not, give it a second, it's loading. Believe it or not, you have to find the FLP file in here. And usually you're presented with this. Sometimes you'll be missing plugins, but that is fine because there's a way around that. And it's getting the instrumental. Funny enough, we go back here and there it is. Now, if you're doing it from a different mod that's like playable, usually you can find the instrument file inside of the mods folder. You just have to go looking for it. But those plugins that are missing, not a big deal. Like, a lot of these are instruments, obviously, but if you want to just use the instrument file, something you'll have to do is find the wow, voice pattern. And right here is the voice area. Now, not all FLPs are like this. Some are actually easier to get rid of instrumentals and some are harder. It really just comes down to finding which patterns are the vocals, and that's it. Now, what do you do with the other things? You select them by hitting Control or holding Control and your mouse button, mouse 1, and you just kind of Control X or delete. Now these things though, these are something you always want to keep. Maybe not always, but they're very important. So never delete these. Only ever delete patterns. And to make things easier when doing the whole cover thing, is you want to after you delete all the unnecessary patterns, you right click this little thingamajig right over here. You hit select unused, right click any one of those ones that are select, and hit delete. It clears all this, and it's very helpful. Once you have done all of that, you don't need to do this at the start, but I'll just show it here for convenience sake. You just throw the inst file in there and call it a day. Now, a lot of songs will usually have these tempos. That's not a tempo. It's your lucky day. But usually when tempos are there, never touch them. But if you skip ahead in the song, usually the instrumental will sound weird. That's not an issue. When you export it, they won't show up. It's a godsend, I'll tell you that much. So if you're ever editing one with a tempo and the instrumental sounds off, don't worry about it. Usually when I'm doing that stuff, I just mute it so I don't have to listen to it. So with that, now you want to come up here, make a new pattern. You can really just not name it or name it whatever. I usually do this because it's the first 3 keys. and it is unbelievably simple to make a cover. So once you've done that, you want to go to your chromatics folder. Let's say you want to do, I don't know, freaking someone from Hypno's Lullaby, Glitchy Red, and Dawn. Sure. What you want to do is come here into the vocals pattern, and you want to find which ones are who. So in this case, this is boyfriend, direct wave. And this is why we made this one. Makes your life easier. You want to select this pattern, come up here and hit View Channel Rack. With the knowledge it's direct wave, you right click it, hover over Replace, and then hit Slice X. Once you've hit Slice X, you want to come into your folder and replace like this. You just drag and drop, that simple. Now it won't work if it looks like this. What you want to do is come right here, right click, and hit Dull Auto Slice. Now, Glitchy Red is very nice for us. It makes it perfect and wonderful. However, you may notice this. When I hit play, I forgot he sung. When you hit play, that's an issue, isn't it? Now, you could just move it up just to make sure it's just perfect, but that usually makes it sound bad. What you want to do in a case like this, or if it's above their listed markers, you move it up by 12 semitones, like so. You just go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. And then let me mute the other one so you can hear it properly. Now in this case you may see, oh wait, no, those are slide notes. If you ever see this little symbol, if they're below the listed markers and they have that symbol, it's completely fine to leave down there. But if these were normal notes, you'd want to move it up by 12 semitones again. Kind of like this. It's a little aggravating sometimes, but it's just how it be, you know? A nice little tip I will always give is if there's one on 3, well, it's just no basic math. So if it's on 3 here and you want to move it by 12, you just move it up to 15. Perfect. Now, there is always another case when it comes to dull auto slicing. So, in the case of using Dawn, she does this little funny thing that is funny. So I do the dull auto slice, right? Let me mute Glitchy Red so you can hear her. And you hit play. So it sounds wrong. That's because sometimes, in the case like this, the markers that it slices aren't always correct. Now in her case, it is right here. Because of this extra marker, it makes it sound wrong. So sometimes what will end up happening is you'll get too many markers or too little. In which case, if there's too many, you just right-click the offending one and hit delete. Now, this is something that's good that happened. If you haven't selected your pattern you made, you'll get this. It's not that big of a deal. You make sure you're clicked onto this and you Control Z. It's fixed. I realized I forgot to put this in the original thing. However, I'll just do it now, so that's why we're here. Now that seems right, but if there's too little markers, like let's say this one wasn't there, what you want to do is just double click, but on the second click hold. You don't need to select the entire thing, but I just like doing it because it makes my brain feel good. Then you hit M and enter, and it creates a new marker. And you can move that to your heart's content, and well, the best way for the best sounding is you want to zoom in as far as you can, control scroll wheel, maybe not too far, but you want to get this as close to the start of the audio as possible. Some audios will sound weird if you do that, so usually you can just skip ahead a little bit. It won't sound bad, just make sure it's not like, you know, that, because then it's just, hang on, then it's just like, rather than, you get the point. I just forgot to add that in originally, so I'll add it in when I'm editing. Now, it's always important to make sure you're selecting another pattern, because if you're messing with the slices in there, there's a chance you might have to go back even further, and it's a whole kerfuffle. You just don't want to do it. It makes your life easier if you're selected here. But now, Sounds beautiful, don't it? So, that's it. I'm sorry, I lied. That's not it. Basically, now here comes the fun part. Not really. I'm kidding. Now, you may notice you can change those to what your heart desires to fit certain characters. But personally, right now, I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to mute those tracks. But you have to make sure everything sounds correct. So, to make sure you do this, you want to open your channel rack. A best way to do this is just hit space, let it play. Right here on channel volume, you want to adjust it so it sounds right. And I'll quickly do that. Now, this is at 100%, but it still sounds low. In this case, you want to click on its name, and if it's closed like this, hit the little settings, and you want to go to this right here. I lied. You go to this one. I'm sorry. And right here, there's another volume slider. This one's a little more sensitive, so you can tend to make it way louder in like short turns. But this is another way to turn it up, and once again, I'll do that. Sorry. You have to make sure you're clicked into here to make sure to hit play, but I'll quickly do that. This is interesting. You may not have noticed, but I noticed it wasn't changing no matter what. Now, in cases like this, you want to double click their target mixer track like this. And there it is. This thing called Fruity Limiter, make sure they don't go too high or too low. In that case, if it's way too low, you just hit mute. And just like that, I've just made a cover. Now, once you're done doing this, what I always suggest to make sure everything goes right, you hit Control A to select everything. You come up here to File, and you want to go down to Export. Now, if you want to send it to people over Discord or something and you don't have Nitro, always export with an MP3 file, because they're usually just smaller and they'll usually not go over 8 megabytes. But if you're doing this to upload it on YouTube, always go for WAV. Now, the reason why is one usually sounds better than the other. It's usually non-noticeable, but WAV is always better. It's just a better sounding, even if slightly. You hit that, and you could save it here in wherever it tells you to, but usually I'll go to your downloads. Like, you just hit your downloads, you name it whatever, and just hit save. It prompts you with this, and you hit start. Oh, that sounds a good one. Now, when it's exporting, you don't need to be clicked in, but I don't know, I personally always have it clicked in. So you go to wherever you saved the thing, your file, and you just listen to it. Sounds beautiful. So with that, it's pretty much how you do it. Congratulations, you've made a cover. And it's just that simple. And the reason I want to make this for the 1,000 subscriber special is I see a bunch of videos on YouTube, but I know I've looked them up to make covers, and it's usually just, huh? I kind of just went into FL Studio myself and just kind of figured it out. Now, with MIDIs, I'm going to be 100% honest, I've barely used MIDIs, but what you want to do for MIDIs instead is just open FL Studio normally. You can just search in your bar, FL Studio. You go to File, Import, and MIDI. You always hit no there because you can't save Lamau. But you go to wherever your MIDI is and just, I don't know, you just, Luther. Just open that. And you want to just drag this in here and you have it. Now for these ones, you're always going to want to get an instrumental from mod. Speaking of, I'll probably put this back into the older parts so it makes a little more sense chronologically. But if when looking for a instrumental from a different mod entirely, you want to just, I don't know, pick whatever thing here, You go to Assets and Songs. You choose the song here, and look, there's the instrumental, inst.ogg. But with that being said, that's pretty much it. I could go into depth about other things, but if you guys really want to see how I make visualizers as well, then I can do one of those too. But I just wanted to get this out there, show how comprehensive this can be, so the world can be blessed with more covers. It really is that simple, and I love doing it. It's just something for fun. And I never thought I'd get 1,000 subscribers for it, but hey, there's a first for everything, isn't there? But with that being said, I after this point, I guess I might try to branch off with new content. I might do other things, but I'm always gonna make covers. Well, I can't say always, but I'm gonna do my best to keep making covers because they are just so fun to make. I love making them. It's just nice. But with that being said, adios.